So this is an ongoing police investigation, Bev. We had a very high-profile arrest 2 weeks ago of Nicola Sturgeon's husband, as you mentioned. And then this morning, we've had the SNP treasurer, the party treasurer, Colin Beattie, arrested. There are questions around where money donated to the party has ended up. It's very, very unclear. The idea is that around £600,000 that was meant to go towards referendum-related campaigning has gone elsewhere. It's not entirely clear where. This has been accompanied by revelations that the party has not been entirely honest about various things, including how many members it has. Which is kind of adding to this idea that it's been a very closed shop for a very long time. It has not helped that the former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon was married to the chief executive of the party for a very long time. It hasn't helped that BT's predecessor resigned because he said he didn't feel like he was getting the information he needed to do his job as party treasurer. It's all adding to this idea that the SNP has been run by a very small, close group of people for a very long time.
And Laura, does it suggest that Nicola Sturgeon's resignation might have, in some way been associated with this? Did she potentially know that this investigation was coming?
We may never know that for sure, but it certainly looks very much like she must have known that something along these lines was in the offing at some point and perhaps felt the need to exit the scene at an opportune moment. It's doubtful that we'll ever know the real truth behind that, but people will be able to make their own conclusions, and I think a lot of people already have.
Yes, indeed. So, Laura, let's now move to this parliamentary committee that's investigating the Prime Minister, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. What is the target of this investigation?
So the issue is, around a month ago, the government issued its budget. And in that budget was a very, very popular policy aimed at helping working parents with childcare costs. Massive incentives to get people working in the childcare industry, especially if people signed up to work for childcare agencies. So obviously that is a great incentive for childcare agencies. And now it turns out that Rishi Sunak's wife, who is a very successful businesswoman in multiple areas, owns shares in a childcare agency that could stand to benefit from this new policy. That in itself is not necessarily a problem, but he does need to declare if he has an interest of this kind. And it appears that he has not done so thus far. Very problematically, he appeared before a parliamentary committee just last month, in which he was talking about these very issues, the broad matter of private companies benefiting from this policy. And it has been highlighted that he completely failed to mention his wife's interest at any point during that meeting. So that's really caused him a lot of problems.
Yes, really damaging the credibility of how he's trying to establish this government. But Number 10 say they declared the interest to the Cabinet Office. Is that the proper process?
That's the first step of a process, but the crucial stages of the process have not followed from that. So at the moment, it rather looks like they're marking their own homework. What's supposed to happen is this should probably, we think, be listed in a ministerial list of interests, which is put on the government's website for all to see. And what this current situation has highlighted is the fact that the government has not issued this list of ministerial interests for over a year. So we don't currently know what financial interests, what potential conflicts exist in Sunak's world or indeed any of his ministers' world. And for a government that is supposed to be leading with integrity and accountability, that's a real, real problem. Yep. This is something that Sunak said he was an absolute priority for him, to be accountable and to be open, because that ultimately is what brought down Boris Johnson.
So true. And as you say, this really puts a dent on it. Does it affect the stability of the government? It's certainly not a good look at a time when the UK is so struggling with extreme financial pressures.
Realistically, on its own, this probably would be a bit of a non-event of the story. He will probably reveal the information and it would be brushed under the cloth as a solo issue. Unfortunately, it's one of just many, many, many conflicts of interest that have been rolling out over the recent years. of a government that's been in power for over a decade and has not had an election for a very long time. So that, coupled with some more serious questions about Rishi Sunak's wife's tax arrangements, it's not a good look for anyone.
Yeah. Great to have you on, Laura. Thanks so much.